All right, the last topic of this chapter is converting between Fahrenheit and Celsius temperatures. So it is important to know that, in the United States, we use Fahrenheit temperatures. Some drugs may be listed, to store in a Celsius temperature. So that's why it's important for us to know how to convert between the two. So Fahrenheit, we're probably used to, the freezing point. We know that that's 32. You might know that the boiling point is 212 degrees, and then normal body temperature is around 98.6. So in the Celsius scale or the centigrade scale, boiling is at 100, freezing is at 0, so it makes it a little bit more easy to remember that. And then body temperature is about 37 degrees Celsius. So this book, you can turn to page 67. You can see that this book offers you different equations to use to convert between Celsius and Fahrenheit. I prefer to use this equation because I think it's the easiest to remember and it's going to work no matter which way you want to go. So I'm going to write that on the top of my paper. So 9C equals 5F minus 160. That's the one I would suggest memorizing, but if you have another one already in your head or you prefer to memorize another one, by all means do so. But this is the one that I'm going to use every time. So you definitely need to be memorizing this equation or one of your choosing for the exam on Thursday. We won't be able to use notes or anything. So 9C equals 5F minus 160. And how we use this equation, no matter if we're given a Celsius or Fahrenheit, we're just going to plug that in respectively. So if we're given, in this case, 65 degrees Celsius, we're just going to plug that 65 in where we see that C, and we're going to solve for F. So like we have done here, 9 times 65 equals 5F minus 160. And then we need to get the F by itself. So here we just multiplied these two to give us 585. We want to get this 160 onto this side of the equation. So we're going to add it to this side here. And now to get this F by itself, we need to actually divide by 5 here. So I'll go through some examples so you can see how this works. Like I said, there are other equations you can use, but I'm just going to focus on using this one here. So let's go through some examples together. So in this one, we have 55 degrees Fahrenheit. We want to convert that into Celsius. Okay, so we have a Fahrenheit temperature. All we need to do is plug that in where we see F in our equation. So our equation is now 9C equals 5 times 55 minus 160. So in this one, we want to solve for that. So 5 times 55 gives me 275. Now we can solve this. So 275 minus 160 gives me 115. Now to get this C by itself, right now I have 9C or 9 times C. I want to do the opposite of multiplication. So I'm going to divide by 9 over here. Whatever I do to this side, I have to do over here as well. So this will cancel out here, divide by 9. So 115 divided by 9 gives me 12.7, and that's just repeating. I'm just going to round to the nearest hundredth. So 12.78 degrees Celsius. And I'm not sure what your assignment has you do. Let's see. So in your assignment, practice problems D, it says round to the tenths. So if we were rounding this one to the 10th place, we would round to 12.8 degrees Celsius. All right. So now let's go the other way. So now we're going to look for a Celsius temperature. So we're just going to plug this in where we see the C in our equation. So we have 9 times, now this is a -5, so keep that negative sign, equals 5F minus 160. So we're trying to solve for the Fahrenheit temperature. So remember, a negative times a positive is going to give us a negative. So 9 times -5 is -45. And we still have the rest of our equation there. So now we want to get F by itself. So first we need to remove this 160. So right now this is 5F minus 160. So we're going to do the opposite of subtraction. So we're going to add 160 on this side, which is going to cancel that out. But whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So we want to add 160 here. So now we have a negative number plus 160 here. So we are left with 115 on this side. Should have left a little bit more room there, I apologize. So we're left with 115 equals 5F. Now to get F by itself, we need to divide off this 5. Divide off the 5. So 115 divided by 5 gives me 23 degrees Fahrenheit. So -5 degrees Celsius gives me 23 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, a couple more here. I'll rewrite that equation so we have it. 9C equals 5F minus 160. So now we have a Fahrenheit temperature. We want to go to Celsius. Plug this in where the F is in our equation. So 9C equals 5 times 48 minus 160. So now we're going to solve this here. 5 times 48 gives me 240. Now I can subtract out that 160. Leaves me with 80. Now to get this C by itself, divide by 9. And C gives me 8 point, and it's 888 repeating. So if we're rounding to the nearest 10th, it would be 8.9 degrees. So 8.9 degrees Celsius there. All right, this last example, we have 15 degrees Celsius. We want to find Fahrenheit. So just plug this in where your C would go. So 9 times 15 equals 5F minus 160. So 9 times 15 is 135. Now to get F by itself, first I need to remove the 160. So we're going to add 160 to this side. Gives me 295 equals 5F. Now to get F by itself, I want to divide by 5. And F is 59 degrees Fahrenheit.